Hey, have you heard about Anchor? You probably haven't heard about Anchor yet, so let me tell you about it. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. You probably hear other people talk about how they make podcasts. If they say it's easy, they're crazy. All of their methods are really hard and complicated, but Anchor, super simple. First off, it's free. They have creation tools that let you make the podcast right from your phone. You don't even need a computer. This is 2019. Who uses computers anymore? Anchor distributes your podcast on all the other platforms. No need to go do all that complicated searching and hosting and posting. Hosting and posting. They do it for you. You can also make money from your podcast. Well, that's what I'm doing right now, because you're listening to this ad. They've got everything you need to make a podcast in one spot. No need to search around all over the place. No need to go to 20 different sites. Just one. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Bet you thought I was going to sing right here, didn't you?
Are you looking for the hottest news out of the obstacle racing scene? Want to stay up to date on the freshest info, the latest podiums, and hear interviews with the who's who in OCR? Well, you've come to the wrong place. Well, some of that you'll find here. But we're not the media. This is not ORM, OCM, OCRM, ORCM. This is OCR Talk.
During the race, that's different.
It's the same thing.
Don't fight with me on this.
Who, me?
Hello, this is Jason Dupree.
Anna Landry. April Dupree.
Mark Duplessis.
This is OCR Talk with episode number 22. We just got done doing World's Toughest Mudder 2018 yesterday, which we did for 24 hours over the course of Saturday from 12 p.m. to Sunday 12 p.m. all through the night. If you're listening to this, you probably know what that is. If not, sorry about you. We're actually here at the brunch for the recap of the race, where we're gonna have breakfast. You know, the whole community comes in, has breakfast. There's supposed to be lots of bacon, and after that, they're gonna do like recap videos and give out awards for who won. So we're here kind of waiting for that to start, but we wanted to go ahead and do our recap of the race live, so that way we can get it out quick, which live is not something that we've ever done before. It's our first time, but we're going to give it a shot. And we've got April and Mark here because they were our pit crew. And Anna, part of your pit crew is not here.
Yeah, she had to go home early because of adulting.
She flew out, didn't she?
Yeah, she flew out yesterday after the race.
She actually drove up.
Brandy.
Yeah,
Getting that plane ticket.
Yeah.
She drove up with you.
Yeah.
And Mark.
And Mark.
Yep.
And Mark thought about flying up and then driving back, because Brandy was going to fly back anyways, right?
Yeah. So we drove in, and we ended up getting here Friday morning at 5 a.m. And then having to wake up early on Friday to go pick up packets and pit stuff. And
Friday morning was our pick out your pit spot, set up your gear, set up your camp, and they got here with got here with 5 hours of spare.
Yeah.
We had an hour and a half sleep.
Yeah, on an hour and a half sleep. It was great. It was
Nice.
good training for the weekend.
It was great.
I think Mike, they were talking about how he was up for how many hours? Because when they flew in, I guess it was just from the day before. I don't know, he was up for a total of 37 hours before he finally got some sleep, I think.
A lot of people had travel snafus though,
Yeah.
because there was flights out of Chicago that were delayed for 4 hours, and people that signed up to camp at the site that were delayed, and you couldn't pick out their pit spots or pick up any of their bibs or anything.
Oh, so
until,
they were
like,
getting
the next
there
day.
after they were already shut down for the
Well
night,
after, yeah.
but they were still supposed to
Yeah.
go camp.
Oh, wow.
Well after.
Well, hopefully with the map, they at least knew where to go
Yeah.
for their camping spots,
Hopefully.
because it showed where those pit spots were.
Yeah. I'm assuming so. because those pit spots didn't get filled.
All right, so we spent, we got here early enough that we spent the majority of the day Thursday getting our gear, our food actually is what we went and picked up. But we met up with Mike Stefano and Caitlin Ritter from Obstacle Running Adventures, and we went to a cat cafe. We met them at a cat cafe and got to hang out with some cats while we had some teas and coffees, which was
I
awesome.
had a margarita.
April had a margarita at a cat cafe. But that place was awesome. If they had one of those in Dallas, I would go for sure. You just hang out, they come jump in your lap. And
He was the happiest person. Maybe y'all should open one. No.
No, that's exactly how Mark
that'd be
does.
great, because then you don't have to have them at home, but you can still have cats.
In all your spare time, go ahead and do a cat cafe.
You have your own little cat
100%.
farm.
Cat farm.
Cat farm.
It's weird.
It's like my
That is
nightmare being allergic to cats. Just stare at you through the glass like a child looking at toys.
But then after the cat cafe, we went and had lunch, and we were right by the Beltline. So you had the scooters that are all over the city, and not only the scooters, you saw the bikes all over the place too. But we hopped on some scooters and took a little ride, which was awesome. It was kind of rainy, a little drizzly, but on the way out, it was nice. Those things cruise for sure. And we drove by a little. There was a nice skate park that I went and drove the big motorized scooter up and down the ramps on. And we ended up seeing one of those little doors that are all around
Tiny
Atlanta.
doors.
Tiny doors that
What?
are all.
It's a thing
Tiny
here.
doors?
Tiny doors are a thing in Atlanta. They're just
In random
little
places.
tiny doors. Of
course it is.
Caitlin spotted it. They don't open, in case anyone's wondering. They don't open.
They're just there for show.
It's like an Insta thing.
Yeah, like maybe elves live around. I guess I'm not really sure.
Little Atlanta elves
Yeah,
run around at night.
we didn't really research it. We just heard there were tiny doors, and we saw one. of
And
them.
we got pictures.
And so then after that, what did we do for the rest of the night? Thursday night.
I forget.
Yeah.
Post
all-
on Facebook that y'all were on scooters.
Made
Yeah.
Mark,
Me jealous.
Made Mark mad.
Yeah.
We had a cool Airbnb. We're actually neighbors with other racers who are
Yeah.
also in the same neighborhood for Airbnbs.
Dusty, I think his name was. He was like actually kind of heading out as we were coming in, so
Yeah.
chatted with him for a minute. Saw
That's
him
good.
again at the community dinner.
That was a tall guy.
And the race. He was.
Oh, you
Yeah, we
saw
saw
him
him at the race. Yeah, we
at
did
the
see him at the race
we
coming
saw
through the
Will
pits.
Hicks, and then
Right
we
on.
were walking by. We saw him. He looked like he did well.
Cool. That's awesome. Maybe we'll see him out here.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
More than likely.
And so then Friday morning, got up and got there pretty early to pick out our pit spots. I think we got there. The pros, the elites were picking out their pit spots at 9. Was it 9? 8. At 8 a.m. And we got there probably about 7:30. Or maybe 8. I don't remember. But they actually started, I think all the elites got to get their spots, so they knew everybody was done. So they let all the contenders go ahead and start picking out their spots at about 8:30. And so it was kind of like, would you compare it to, what's that movie, Far and Away?
Yes.
Yeah. So you get your stuff and you got to go run
Ride
and,
on
and
horses.
stake your claim,
Shoot anybody that gets on your land. That's what I pictured in my head.
punch your horse in the face whenever it won't do what you want it to do.
Love that movie.
Oh, that'd be so much worse. Just
I know
punching
how
your
everybody
pit.
was running out there.
Yeah.
as
I
soon as
did.
they-
I ran, once I got my bib, I ran to I wanted to get a spot right on the, right at the edge
Yeah,
of
and
the
you did.
pass through. So
Yeah.
But you
I
weren't
got
punching
the-
your pit crew in the face.
You didn't punch us.
I didn't have
That'd be
anything to
so much
punch,
worse.
unfortunately.
Just put your OCR flag, OCR talk flag.
Yeah.
Punch myself.
Triumphantly on the ground.
It was a great spot. You
You're
did
not
a
running
good
fast
job.
enough.
Yeah.
It was a good spot,
Yeah,
though.
was
we
a
were
really
right
good
there.
Yeah, we got a spot right next to the pit entry. So the race for it was different than past years where the pit was surrounding the course at the finish line, where instead of just being on one side of it like it was in Vegas, it actually was on both sides of the, what do you call that area? The finish line, but it's the course itself. It's
Like the corral.
where the course passes
Transition.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Area?
so
Oh, pit
cool.
area now.
I don't
Yeah.
know what. Yeah, I mean the pit was. I think of it as where the tents were, but the course where the course passes through the pit. That was very similar to what they did at the Endurance OCR World's Enduro, which was really cool. I don't know if they had that idea already or if they got it from them. That'd be interesting to know. But
Did they have the quick pit area that they did here?
I don't think so.
I don't
'Cause
think they had a
that
quick
was pretty cool. how they
But
had
the
quick pits.
enduro, the pit was actually the course through the pit was so long that it was on basically one row all the way through because
Oh,
it
wow.
actually wiggled back and forth to pass through the entire pit. So everybody was literally right next to the course,
Okay.
which was kind of neat. And they actually had one obstacle right there in the pit. Like you literally passed up people's tents, went and did the rings,
Yeah.
and then there were more tents. So
Wow.
they didn't have that here, which would have been
I
interesting.
thought it was nice
but-
of them the way it transitioned because you guys had
It was a
the
really smooth transition.
obstacle and then you had a little downhill to give you a little push and then
Yeah.
you went around the pond.
Yeah.
And then came in.
Yeah, Mutterhorn, which was the big A-frame with a slick wall right at the beginning of it, was the very last obstacle, and you could see the pits from up there, which was really cool. And then you run down that hill, and you hit the entrance to the pit area. So our pit spot was literally right there on the edge, right very first two spots.
Yeah.
And then we had Mike Stefano right behind us. So it was really nice to be able to just enter the pit and then you're there. Like we didn't even have to
Yeah.
utilize the quick pit areas because
So
We had
Our
our
spot
own
was
little
right
quick
there.
pit area.
yeah, it was perfect.
It was good for us too because I can't imagine
Like having to run back
in the
and
middle of the
forth.
night us sitting further in the pit, just nothing
Yeah.
to look at.
Trying to
and we were
wait
able
for
to see
stuff.
other runners that we knew passing by, and then
Yeah.
also y'all, when y'all came up, we were able to go, "What do you need?"
Yeah.
Right
and
away.
just instantly
Just do
turn
it.
instead of
Yeah.
going, "What do you need?" and then running
Yeah.
through the pits to
Yeah.
find it.
There were-
Literally
yeah,
before
there-
we even entered the pit.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
already communicating.
So
Yeah.
the people in the back, they had a good system, but they would bring like either on like a little rolly cart or some way they would haul their gear, what they needed right there, and then they would help the racer and then go back, which works. But you guys got such a good spot that we had everything that we needed. And then, like Mark said, we were close enough to the course that we could cheer for the other runners, especially when it got late,
Yeah.
because they're right there past us. So that was cool too.
And it was nice seeing people that you had known at other races. Like I saw a good handful
Yeah.
of people that this past year and year before I had
Yeah.
met on courses, and we were able to go, "Oh, hey, so and so, there you are," and
Yeah,
then
that's cool.
it's a nice little pick me up.
We actually
for
started
everyone.
keeping track. We'd be like, "Hey, did you see so and so come through?"
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know where they are. And we'd see them.
That's how I judged Mike's. Actually, I knew that
Oh.
my friend Kendall that I had ran with was shortly behind him, and if I saw her come through, I'm like, "All right, where's Mike? Or where's she at?" Well, I know they're in the same area. I'm starting to get nervous. One of them's not showing up.
That's pretty neat. So then, so we got our pit spots, and then Friday. So after we got done picking out our pit spots, you were there, and Mike was running late, so we left before he even got there, and then we went and did some more grocery shopping. Went to Walmart and Academy again. How many times did we hit Walmart between all of us this weekend?
I only hit it once. I don't know about y'all, but I only hit it once.
We definitely went twice.
I had to get all the junk.
We went through. Y'all went, and then we went twice because we forgot the thermos.
Oh yeah,
We had to go back
I
for
went
the
3
thermos
times.
the second time.
I went to Walmart 3 times.
Yeah, nice.
And never got real food. I never picked up real food.
And then, what was it? Friday evening. Yeah, Friday evening. They were gonna have the what was it called? Not the
happy hour?
The happy
Happy
hour.
hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the happy hour that was gonna happen on course at the venue, and ended up they canceled that because because the rain was
The
real
weather,
bad.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it was raining
Yeah.
a ton, so they canceled it, and they had already pushed it backwards or earlier so that the community dinner didn't overlap, and they ended up saying we're gonna go ahead and cancel it. We're gonna put out the what was it the preview, or what did they call it?
The debriefing.
The debriefing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the debriefing that they did it at 12 o'clock, and then they made sure they did it again at 9:30 the next morning, but then they also posted it on the community page, which is awesome because as many people as you're dealing with, between the community page and the Tough Mudder page itself, they do a great job of getting this info out to everybody. And I know that's always been, as Facebook's kind of getting bigger and bigger, it's kind of grown. I know it started before the sport, but it's kind of grown with the sport, and it's actually been a huge. I want to say it's the real reason. No, kickball was the reason that I started using Facebook again.
Kickball.
But it
Oh,
really
yeah.
has been an instrumental tool for keeping people in touch with each other. So then after that, Friday night we went to the community dinner, which was at this really cool brewery that has a huge open area for, I don't know what
Yeah.
they do there normally to have that much space, but they had their drinks, and then they had a few vendors come in. Little poor popsicle guy. You know, the temperature outside was
Temperature outside was
pretty
close
cold.
to freezing,
Looks
and it's
so
all
bad for
windy,
him.
and he's
And he's
just sitting at his pop stand,
Looking
And
all
it's just
so
a-
sad.
An umbrella.
laying
Yeah,
on
it was
his
just a
phone.
little cart, like you think of a little ice cream cart. So it was so small, and he was there by himself, just
The
sitting
giant
there.
rainbow
Yeah.
umbrella, just looking just sad.
Then he had the potato stand right next to him, so everybody was bypassing
Right.
him to go to
Two
the potato-
stands.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the hot dog on the other side.
yeah.
Poor guy.
So we got some ice cream from him because Matt B. Davis said that it's like one of the staples of Atlanta is this really good ice cream parlor, I guess, that sells these really good pops.
Hot Pops, was that the name
Was
of
it?
it?
I don't even
King
remember.
of Pops.
King of Pops.
King of Pops.
And so we went ahead and got some just to kind of give him some business. And was it Caitlin?
Caitlin got her
Caitlin
tongue
got her
stuck.
tongue stuck on
They
her
were so
popsicle.
cold.
And Mike got his lip stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike pulled his off right away, but Caitlin was afraid to pull it away, so she literally sat there
Yeah.
for 30 seconds going, "Ugh."
Mike also left blood on the
Yeah, Mike
popsicle
was
when he pulled it
bleeding.
away, though.
Mike's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
he was
tore
bleeding.
part of his
Or like,
lip off
there's
from
your
the
injury
popsicle.
for the world's toughest.
we should have went back to the guy and been like, "Hey man, I want my money back. I got injured eating this thing." So that was pretty cool getting to see a lot of people there, and there wasn't as many people as I expected to be there, and it might have been the weather,
Yeah,
but again at that
and
point they had
everybody's flights
said,
were delayed.
yeah, they said that by 3 o'clock or maybe about noon, I forget. Only 51% of people that had registered had actually gotten there and picked out their pit spots. So it was just less people there in general. Maybe a lot of people were still coming in.
Well,
Yeah.
the guy that was next to us said that he decided not to do it because it was raining and he knew it was supposed to stop. So
Oh,
he
the day before?
purposefully waited until then. So,
Interesting. Well, he did. The guy next to us
The military guy
that
Sorry,
had
what was
the
his name?
tent off to the side.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he picked out his flag though.
Right.
He actually got there
He
and
got it and then
registered.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't put up his stuff.
No.
So I'd be curious to hear. Maybe we can find out today how many people actually did compete that registered. How
It was-
if it was
It
lower.
still
It
looks
was
like a
pretty
lot of
full
people,
walking through the
yeah.
pits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it was hard to get around
yeah,
back there.
Yeah.
But there were still empty spaces. So
There was.
yeah.
I don't
it
know if
still
they-
looked pretty
Yeah.
full.
Huh.
The starting corral did anyway.
Yeah.
I know.
So that was Friday night, and that was nice. And then Saturday morning, we got there with plenty of time to kind of just get everything ready and set up, but also be relaxed. And I think everything we were ready to go by 10:45, 11 o'clock. I think maybe 11 o'clock is when I was putting my socks on and stuff, and we were ready to go for that. So the race started at that point, but before we talk about, I guess, the kind of our, like, what happened out there on the course from a pit perspective, and talk about that first. I know coming in every time it was so much different than coming in by yourself and having nobody to go
Right.
to. Now in 2016, I made friends with the people across from me because they had a huge tent and tons of pit crew, and they were super sweet and gave me sandwiches and like all this stuff. They were all constantly offering me stuff, so that helped. But this was like I knew who I was coming into, my wife being one of them, and so it was really cool coming in and seeing you guys each time. So I guess you guys talk a little bit about when we came in. What was y'all's process?
Man, we nailed it down quick, and we didn't even really have a plan. But there were
Yeah.
three of us.
Well,
Sometimes
four,
Brandy.
Sometimes
She
Brandy.
liked to go on the course and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, she
see
would look for
Anna and like
Anna, and
I did
give
see her
her
out there a few
encouragement.
times.
So she was back and forth a
Yeah.
lot.
Which was useful because she would come in and
Very
report when you were
useful.
coming in.
Yeah.
And we knew y'all,
yeah.
the three of y'all had staggered out.
Yeah.
So we knew when she
After the
came
first,
back,
like, 2 or 3
you were going to
laps,
be
yeah.
shortly behind Brandy actually coming in and reporting it, and then
Yeah.
you would be there, and then
Yeah.
Mike would show up after you. So it
Yeah.
actually helped having her
Right.
run back and forth. I think it worked out pretty well though in the
did.
beginning. The
It
first
was-
lap was kind of okay, let's figure this out, and then
Yeah.
after that, once y'all staggered,
Yeah.
it made it great because it was what do y'all need? Got you whatever you needed. We started throwing dry robes on. It was kind of a process of
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you need to change clothes? If you don't need to change clothes, let's throw a dry robe on you. Make sure you're warm. Let's get you food. And then as soon as you were leaving, we started cleaning up and kind of organizing for the next person,
Yeah.
laying things out. When like we knew that every lap you had to have 4 gels and refill your bottle. So it was, did you go through your gels? Do you need a new bottle? Did you go through your gels? Do you need a new bottle? We knew that Anna was gonna be taking,
My
you know,
belt.
your nun, your hot stuff, nun.
Yeah, noon.
How are you saying?
Yeah, noon. But the cool thing was also you guys were helpful because before you left, we'd say, "What do you think you might need?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then right then we learned it was better to do it right then after they left rather than wait. 'Cause
Yeah,
you're like,
no
which
way.
one are we on? What
Yeah.
did they need? But the pit was, I mean, our spot was a disaster because things just went flying
Oh,
when y'all
yeah.
were there, and it was all about you and getting it ready. And so then we turn around and be like, "All right, guys, let's get this cleaned
Let's
up."
reorganize.
I don't know where anything
Let's
is.
reorganize.
And then in our downtimes, we would make runs to the tent, the hospitality tent.
Yeah.
Because they had the hot water there that Brandy used for Anna's.
They had hot
use.
water ready, or you had to heat it up in the
They
microwave?
had it
They had
ready. It was
hot
like in
water
those
ready.
kettles,
Oh,
and
wow.
so, and actually, as the night went on, we can get this later. But as that went on, people were just getting tons of that because they were helping to like
Yeah.
thaw things
Oh, yeah.
out and warm up
Yeah,
their
which,
racers.
that's
Yeah.
how your
Yeah.
Anna's leg mitts were frozen
Yeah.
at one point. So
Yeah.
I ended up just
My
soaking
bib
them
was frozen,
hot
too.
water and then just constantly
Yeah.
going
Your
over
bib was
over.
frozen?
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
taken off my bib, I think,
Yeah.
to change or something like
Yeah, I
that.
poured hot
and
water
just
on
the
that to
short
thaw it
time
out.
that it was on the ground, it
And
froze.
most of
Yeah.
the night, I was thinking, man, those hot showers Jason talked about in Vegas would really come in handy here. I don't know why they're
Oh,
not
that made it
here.
They
so
weren't
much
necessary
easier.
in Vegas, but they were so awesome.
Oh, they would have been really helpful here because that's what we had to do. Was people were just heating up water in the microwaves or in the kettle. It was just
Yeah.
like either one, and everyone was so. Like as intense and in a hurry everything was, everyone was so nice. Like everyone wanted to help each other and take turns, and this one doesn't work, let me let you use this one. Like it was great, the camaraderie everybody had with each other.
Between the pit crews.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Oh, the
we were
pit
all
crews
like,
were helpful.
we're
Yeah.
in this together.
Yeah.
But I can see why the orphan tent is so instrumental is because the people coming in on their own, that's just a lot by yourself.
The orphan
So,
tent,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing that they have for people who don't have anyone because it just seems tough. Like
Yeah,
that.
that
Not
would've
only
been
were
tough.
we helping
Unless
you,
you're extremely organized on your own.
right?
Yeah.
But even it's just
Yeah.
like the boost, like knowing, like you said, you know you had somebody
Yeah.
waiting for you, and then you know you had that encouragement and like get out there, don't sit down.
Yeah.
Like having that right there has to be really powerful. And so I kept thinking, Jason did this on his own. Like,
Yeah, I don't know
this is
how you did
crazy.
this on your own.
He's
I did.
50.
I did utilize the orphan tent when I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it is, yeah. I remember it
Yeah.
being awesome to have somebody be like, "Hey, I'm going out for another one," and them being like, "All right, which one you on? Do you want some of this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny
It was
part
awesome.
was it was such an adrenaline rush. We would just like throw off our layers
Oh, it
and
was
help you
fun.
guys, and we were warm.
Yeah.
And then as y'all left and we started cleaning, we're like, God, it's cold. Where's my dry robe?
Well,
It was like a NASCAR pit crew.
It was
Oh, it was.
exactly
Like,
like,
I remember
that.
rolling
It
in through the
was.
pit and everybody just descending upon me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
a
really
couple
was.
I
times
can't even
that
do
we were all
anything.
on top
Mark's
of
taking
you.
off my watch.
Yeah.
April's trying to get my clothes off.
Two people are
and-
trying
yeah.
to put your glove on. You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"This doesn't work like this."
Our new friend Ryan was feeding you noodles.
Yeah. And some stranger feeding me noodles. He's like, I'm just trying to help.
It was awesome.
It was actually easier. Like a couple times, y'all would come in kind of a little not delirious, but kind of focused on what you were doing. We're like, stop, let us do it. It's
Yeah.
going to go
Yeah.
quicker.
Yeah.
And then, it was fun to do because y'all staggered to where every time we had just cleaned up and kind of reorganized,
Yeah.
we'd sit for maybe 10 minutes, see when you come in. We're like, all right,
Yeah.
time to go.
Yeah.
And then one thing that I liked about the hospitality tent was that they had volunteers there, and shout out to the volunteers that were working in that hospitality tent because they were almost pit crewing for the pit crews. And then there was a couple
Yeah.
pit crews
That's
that were
awesome.
there that had extra people that were standing in there, and when we were running in for hot water, they were already handing things out going, oh, what do you need? So there was like people pitting for the pit crews, and then
Yeah, that-
even our pit crew was pit crewing for each other because every time one of y'all had a wetsuit, like
Yeah.
my thing of the night became, all right, Mark, get over there and put somebody in their
Yeah.
wetsuit. So I had to,
did
I was
very
stripping
well.
down my t-shirt every single time.
That's awesome.
And when y'all would
Mark in his
leave,
wetsuit.
Hey there.
Back it up.
I'm sorry.
Let's move on that end down there.
What's that?
Let's move on the other end. This locked down the belt.
Lockdown, huh?
Yes, sir.
want to pause it?
All right, we got kicked. We're getting kicked out. Pausing. All right, so we're back.
Yeah.
We literally walked across the crowd of people that are waiting to get into the brunch, and just down to the other side. So now we're in another empty spot where if that guy comes over here, he'll probably tell us that it's locked down too, and then kick us out again. But we'll get some more in before that. All right, so we're talking about pit crewing and stuff.
Yeah, the pit crews for the pit crews.
Yeah.
The hospitality
Yeah.
tent.
Yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah. So I was stripping down to my t-shirt to get y'all's wetsuits on and off, which was.
Did you not have at least a jacket on too?
I did. I mean, I had my standard jacket, and I had usually a dry robe. And
Yeah.
whoever was coming in, I was putting the dry robe I was wearing onto one of y'all, because when we were leaving it on the ground, it was frosting over. But then I was taking my jacket off because y'all were covered in mud and water, and then usually if I was ripping a wetsuit off, I was then covered in pee. But, thankfully, April and the rest of our pit crew ended up helping me turn around. So as soon as y'all would leave out, they would turn around, give me a towel. I would dry
the pee
myself off, and then
Dry the pee off.
throw my jacket on, and they throw the dry robe back on me. So we were like helping each other out at the same time. It was fun, but it was stressful. But it was a lot of fun to where I even said, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for next year, but I'm definitely wearing my triathlon wetsuit in
It's
the
like
pits.
no question
Yeah.
if you're even doing it next
no.
year. Just, I'm ready for next year.
I'm ready for next year, but I'm wearing my own wetsuit in the pits so that I'm not covered in pee and cold and everything, and
so
I can
after
stay
the
nice
race,
and
we
raw.
can get you out of your wetsuit.
Exactly, and then y'all have to pull it off of me, and I'm going to urinate on myself, so you're going to get covered this time.
And because of the temperatures were so low, which people were saying it was, 28 or so, those dry robes were hugely instrumental.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't have anybody out here selling those. They would have
We've
made
been saying that all
a
morning.
killing.
I've been saying
they
that
would have made
constantly.
a killing out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Mike had one that he had got from Will, and so I
Mike
told
and Caitlin, so
yeah,
they
Mike
had-
and Caitlin both had one.
Yeah,
It's from
nice.
Will Hicks. And when Will came by
Yeah.
for a second, I told him, I was like, "Thank you for helping them out, because that
Yeah.
helped me out. Otherwise, I'd have been miserable all night. I mean, those were godsend."
And I feel like, as great as our spot was, I can't help but feel like that pond had something to do with the cold, because we would go walking around,
Really?
and then we would come back. It felt colder.
It's so much
Even
colder
walking
in our
along the
spot.
course, you could see the heat just evaporating
There were
off
parts.
the lakes.
Yeah,
or
you
off
would
the
come down
ponds.
from a hill or something and it'd be
Yeah.
colder as well.
Yeah,
could
so I think
see
we were in a little.
just-
I mean, it was just cold. It was cold, and we
It was
knew
colder
the
in the
temperature.
pits, though. It was.
I think it was.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But
Yeah.
And we the thing that worried me was every time that we would pull something off of y'all, you could just see the heat escaping.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
From you, like you
Yeah.
had the whole debacle with the wetsuit, and
gosh,
but every time we moved something off of you, I just saw
Yeah. All
tons
the
of heat coming off. And we're like, all right,
steam
throw
coming off. Yeah.
something on top of it.
we need
We're
to trap
warm.
it.
Trap the warp.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I had enough gear that I was prepared for those kind of temperatures, but I didn't use them last time. I didn't use a lot of that stuff that I had last time. But this time it was like the temperatures were ridiculous, so I actually ended up using all that stuff, and it was great. Anything other pit-wise? I don't know. Anything else y'all want to say about the pit and y'all's experience?
Not really. It was a good time.
It was funny to see the temperature beforehand and know what it was going to be, but then actually be there
Be
when it
in
was
it. Oh,
that
yeah.
temperature. And we've done camping like that before, and it was fine, but we were just completely covered in gear, and we were,
Right.
Not
tent
jumping
was
in and
prepped.
out of water.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was the hard part, was taking it off and losing all the heat and then putting it back on again and taking forever for it to warm up. And then I know this happened to Caitlin, Mark a little bit too. I ate plenty, but as it was so busy, a few of us forgot to eat just
Yeah.
for our own. And so Caitlin got really cold at one point, and she's just like, all I've had was a Pop-Tart this morning. I was like, eat, that will help you.
Who was our friend from Houston?
Ryan.
If it wasn't for Ryan,
Ryan Peake. Oh,
yeah.
I would not have eaten any food, because
Yeah, he was pretty
reminded-
as
Yeah,
we were
dude.
going through Walmart, I was only grabbing snacks and other random things,
Junk
even
food.
though
Junk
April
sweets.
told me to get real food. I had chips, but in my head, I was going to buy food from the food trucks, which there only ended up being one food truck, which then ran out of food. So Ryan thankfully came through and said, well, here's some ramen noodles. And that was my one meal of the night. And other than that, when y'all got staggered, I completely forgot to eat at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And half of the stuff that I bought is now my groceries and is going back in Anna's car with me to New Orleans, because I
beer-
just stopped eating. I wasn't paying attention.
I will say the beer lasted though.
The
when they
beer
were
lasted.
selling it.
Yeah, we bought a bunch of beer thinking we were
They
gonna.
sold beer up until they said they would. So there was plenty of beer. Ran out of food.
And we brought an ice chest of our own beer, going, oh, we're gonna have a party in the pits. This is gonna be great.
The cool thing
And
And
y'all
then-
really didn't have time to.
We didn't have time, and when we did have time, it got to a point that the beer in the cooler was actually warmer
That's
than
crazy.
outside. And if we took
I
the beer
believe
out
that,
and put
yeah.
it down for a second, it
Yeah.
got too cold,
It
and
was
we're like,
hard to drink.
now it's hard to drink because
Yeah.
now I'm getting colder inside.
I believe that.
It became a mess.
The funny thing, it became a joke throughout, was put it on the list. Like we would say, you know, what'd be great is if we had a whiteboard and we keep track of these guys. Put it on the list.
Put it on the list.
And then some things we duplicated. But the great part was it like in the moment, like, quick, I need this. Okay, I got it over here. And then I need this. We'll get it over here. Like, it was so cool how we just shared each other's gear. It was all mixed
Yeah.
up. We never ran out of anything. There wasn't something that we needed that I can think of that were like, oh, I don't have any more. Like, I know there was a few people that got on the groups and was like, my racer, one guy split his crotch on his wetsuit.
Oh,
I'm
no.
not laughing, but that sucks. And so somebody was like trying to find a wetsuit.
Last minute?
Yeah,
Oh,
trying to find one last minute. So that was cool too. Like we brought a lot of stuff, but we did end up sharing, and then other stuff, you know, that they brought, we shared with that too. So it was just cool. It was a really cool. I've never been a part of anything like that before.
No.
So it was a really.
It was a great experience.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to see y'all come in.
Yeah.
Like seeing y'all come in inspired me because I turned April after 2 laps. I'm like, I think this is why Jason had me come because I want to run this. I want to run this so bad. And then when you came in towards the end and I saw Cody roll, I'm like, I don't want to run this. I definitely don't want to do this anymore. But I'm definitely gonna pit, and very likely I want to run it now. It was fun to watch everybody and kind of get your take. You know, I interviewed you every time you came in.
Yeah.
Kind of going, all right, what's going on? And then I wanted to do it to Anna, but
Yeah, you did it once.
there was so much going on with.
Yeah.
It was just like drop everything. Let's hurry up and help you.
Well, and Brandy was sweet. She had like videos and notes prepared.
Yeah.
Like inspiration part.
Oh,
she
yeah.
got
She
that down.
she was planning it. Her and Daniel were in cahoots before the race. Like they were planning everything, like because he knows me pretty much more than anybody else, but he couldn't stay up 24 hours, so he just stayed home and babysat the fur babies. So he told Brandy, he's like, okay, this is whenever she's going to be in this mood, and this is whenever she's going to be in this mood, and maybe feeling sorry for herself or feeling frustrated. And like, sure enough, every single note that I read from him at that point in the race was exactly what I was thinking. Like, he said something about like singing Hamilton show tunes in my head along the course. I'm like, that's exactly what I was doing out there, because like there was a lot of points on the course where like it would get lonely. So I'm like singing Hamilton show tunes in my head like an idiot. But
Well, and we could see the difference in you. Even Caitlin
Oh,
said
yeah.
it. She was like, "Oh my God, that note that Brandy just read! I feel better too."
Yeah.
But it was great to see how those were so effective because they were.
were.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Everybody had their
They
own
were.
little thing.
yeah.
Like you came in, you had your notes. You were very structured on this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Mike would come in
Mike
and
had
he
to
had his
do his-
routine. He's like, I need to record. Give me these. I want to eat this. Let's go. And he would never sit. He'd stand up. He'd
Yeah.
stand up. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
And we got everything? All right, bye. He would just turn and go. So everybody had their own little thing.
Yeah.
Ryan's brother basically pitted for himself while he was running. We're just wondering. He's like, no, I'm just going back to my tent. Don't worry. Come on. Catch up with me.
Yeah, we wanted to help him out because he was helping us so much, but that guy was solid. He didn't need nothing.
All right, I want to point out that the security guard walked by and did not say that
say
this
anything.
part is locked down. So, I mean, we've been seeing people walk through here, so I guess it's
I was
okay.
nervous.
I was getting a little nervous too.
I was waiting to see if I could ask him questions, see if we can get him on the mic. Temperature-wise, I do want to point out that, or actually put this question out there because I don't know the answer to it about wetsuits. I put on thermal layers underneath, like compression thermal, made for like
Yeah.
good for getting wet in, but still keep you warm kind of thing. Is it better to have layers underneath your wetsuit or have your wetsuit with layers over top of it? We've been saying
Yeah.
That
That's what the guy
it's
next
better-
to us on the other
I
side.
say nothing under.
Yeah, that's what he was
Yeah.
saying too, because your wetsuit was designed to like have like a thin layer of water in between your skin and,
And
the
it
wetsuit,
insulates you.
and it insulates
Yeah.
you. The water heats up and it actually insulates you.
I've never ran I've never run an
Right, and
obstacle
it's
course race
yeah,
with one,
and
but
these types
yeah.
of purposes, I don't know what, because I
Right.
mean, I felt okay first few laps anyway with like my compression and the neoprene underneath, and then like my wetsuit on over that. But then, just like he was saying, once that gets wet, it's just going to make you cold.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I felt pretty good in mine, but I just don't know. Like, would I have felt even better if I had done that with no layers underneath?
You need to
I'm
test
gonna
it.
say yeah because
Well, it's definitely something I
Yeah.
want to test out,
Yeah.
and I want to hear from other people too, and see what everybody
Yeah.
else's take on it. Obviously, there are people that are, shoot, we need to ask Will, since he used to be a diver, apparently.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Can I
I've,
say that on air? I don't know if it's a secret or not.
I've only worn it during triathlon,
Yeah.
and I know that underneath mine I only have my tri suit, which is very thin, basically see through almost. You know, it's obviously not see through, but it's super thin, and I've only ever worn the wetsuit over the top of it. And I mean, I'm swimming a mile and a half in damn cold water.
Yeah.
You know, my friend has done the Escape from Alcatraz a few times, and those are frigid temps, and all they're wearing is a tri-suit underneath. You got your standard wetsuit over. I think it's less layer in your wetsuit, and it's how thick that wetsuit is, because the water that does get trapped between it heats up in between your body and that wetsuit, and it does
Yeah.
insulate. That's why they always say, you know, pee inside your wetsuit, because you're
Yeah.
putting hot liquids inside there.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll see people pour warm water inside their wetsuit, and so layering underneath, I don't think so. Layering over the top, I'm not sure. Possibly. That's kind of something that does need to be tested, but I think layering underneath possibly makes it worse.
Yeah.
It makes it harder on your body for sure, because
Yeah.
it's more compression.
I know I didn't feel a difference whenever I took my neoprene top off and put my regular compression shirt on underneath the
Over?
wetsuit.
Underneath.
I didn't really feel a huge difference because I figured my compression shirt was thin enough to it was gonna maybe keep me warm even if it got wet inside my wetsuit. But I
That's
still
what
got
mine
cold.
was like, but
My
it was
wetsuit was
long
a little-
sleeve and long
yeah.
pants, compression gear. So I
Right.
definitely want to do some research on that and testing as well to find out,
Yeah.
because that could make a huge difference. All right, so beginning of the race, first lap, I know you and I went back and forth, kind of like you would leave me, and then I would catch up to you and be like, "Hey, Anna, how's it going?" And then I would leave you, and then you'd catch up, and so we kind of went back and forth for a while.
Yeah.
And I know you got to the pit before I did.
Yeah.
And this is the sprint lap, so no obstacles, no water, which is nice. And then I was wearing compression gear and like thin compression gear and shorts and t-shirt, and felt pretty good. Came back in, put on a little bit of neoprene because we knew we were going to get wet, but we didn't get wet much. I think we went through. Did we
On the
even
second
go
or third
through
lap.
Mud Mile on the second lap?
I don't think no. Not much was open on the second lap.
We only
I
did a
think I
couple of
remember going
obstacles.
through trench warfare in the second lap, maybe.
I feel like we did Mud Mile too, but I could be wrong. But anyway, yeah, it was very minimal whatever
Yeah.
we did. And then after that, put on short wetsuit because it was already starting to get colder and we were getting more wet at that point. At that point, we were doing most of the obstacles except for, I don't know where you were at that point, but we were doing most of the obstacles except for like Funky Monkey, and I think even like the gauntlet was open at that point. Not
Yeah.
to be wrong. But when did you feel like it started getting really hard?
Middle of my third lap, probably. I was already starting to get cold, and they like. It's interesting to hear from the pit because they could see me. From the, like, even though I'm like feeling maybe I'm a little run down, but they were like, "No, you look like shit."
I was worried when you came in on that lap. I was really worried.
Yeah,
for you.
I probably should have put my wetsuit on like a lap before I did.
Frozen.
That's what I said to
And
everybody
I was
else,
already,
yeah.
I was already getting cold like halfway through my third lap because the sun started going down. I started out my my race with my 1.5 neoprene shorts on, and then I had my compression tights on over those, and then I had my neoprene long sleeve top on, and then my Nike Hyper Warm pullover on top of that. So I felt good like the first couple laps, and then halfway through my third lap, I was like, okay, it's starting to get cold. The sun started to go down, and Brandy caught up to me on Mud Mile. She pretty much met me there every single lap. She knew about what time to expect me there, so she would like, there's Brandy waiting for me here, cheering me on, coming through that obstacle. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna need my wetsuit. Go ahead and go back to the pit and start turning it inside out and getting it ready for me because I'm gonna need it. And I probably should have taken it on my third lap because that's whenever I got cold.
Turning it inside out. So you put it
Right.
on inside out?
No, like just the top part,
Okay.
and like getting it all.
Did you actually
glued
have
up
did you have
and
the arms
everything.
out?
Yeah.
Okay,
And, like,
so that's
getting-
an
and,
interesting
like,
way. I didn't think
getting
about putting it on that way.
Getting it.
So you put your hand inside
in
of
the
it and then
plastic
flip
bag.
it, flip it onto you.
Yeah.
The way Mark puts on his shirt. Mark literally puts his head through the head hole and then
Yeah.
turns the shirt upside down on his body.
Which I did not know I did until this morning. You were the only one though that didn't go out on that lap without the
Without a
wetsuit,
wetsuit, and that was probably my biggest
Yeah.
mistake because, like, I was telling Mark today, like, my fingers are still numb. Like, these two fingers are still a little bit numb at the fingertips.
cold.
That probably had a little bit to do with my wetsuit as well. Like, it was so tight on my arms. Everywhere else, it fit okay. It might have been a little tight, but like my arms were so tight, and we went back and forth of like how to cut the arms on my wetsuit because on that fourth lap, one of the medics at T-Bone saw my hands all swollen, and he was like, you're gonna run like that? And he was like considering pulling me off the course because he was like, you're not gonna be able to do anything with your hands like that. And he handed me like this warm towel to like dry my hands off with. I'm like, I'm just gonna have to cut my losses and cut it because like I'm not gonna use it next year. I'm not gonna use this wetsuit anymore if it's like this. So like, and every other time I practiced with it on, like it was okay, and like my hands would maybe swell a little bit, but not that much. It was pretty bad. It was pretty uncomfortable. That, and I didn't have my blood mitts on that lap. I don't know why I didn't, but
Oh, did you have gloves?
no,
What?
no.
I think the problem with where
I
you
think-
came in
yeah.
was all on time because I mentioned this to Jason that
Yeah.
when he came in,
Yeah.
it was enough time for him to finish that lap without needing anything.
Right,
When
yeah.
Mike came in, it was enough time that okay, you need this.
Yeah.
You came in right at an awkward time of,
Yeah.
am I going to finish in the
Yeah,
cold?
am I gonna finish
Or am I
before
gonna
the sun goes down?
Yeah.
Or that's
So,
why I got caught. Yeah,
you
I
got stuck in a weird
But I
spot.
stuck
had
on
gloves
that
on
lap.
from the beginning. Like I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't
I well, I had my blood mitts on, and I'm like, whenever I left, I'm like, I should have brought my blood mitts with me. I'm
man.
stupid. That was a stupid mistake. That was
then
a
they
dumb
froze.
mistake.
Yeah,
and
and then
my,
they froze.
Yeah, and now my fingers are paying the price for
That
it.
wetsuit might have been a little too tight. I mean, we lifted you off the ground
Yeah.
trying to get it on at one
Yeah.
point.
Well, and I had another wetsuit with me, but it was sleeveless, so it was useless.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't
they,
think-
they say with wetsuits you don't want it. Obviously, you don't want to have big gaps and big spots of loose.
Right.
But obviously, you don't want it to be too tight on you
Right.
too, and especially if you're going to put stuff on under it, which
Yeah.
we're not sure if you should or not. But so you do want to have. Like I noticed when we were in the pit area, this girl had on
Yeah.
frog skins,
Yeah.
and you could see like it was not tight on her. It was not form fitting. It was it's close, but
Yeah.
it wasn't tight.
just looked like a regular shirt.
Yeah, so I know, like mine was a medium, and I typically wear mediums,
Yeah.
but my wetsuit was a little tight. Not as
Yeah.
bad as yours, obviously, because it didn't.
Yeah.
it
The
didn't squeeze me.
plastic bag trick, though, that was
That
cool.
was genius.
Yeah, I YouTubed that before the
heard
race.
that.
Yeah, I YouTubed
It
that
worked really
before the
well.
race, and I practiced it a few times.
Was it just like a shopping bag?
Yeah, just a plastic Walmart bag. You stick them on your feet, and you pull your feet through the wetsuit, and it just comes right up.
Nice.
Right, and just kind of shimmy it up your legs, and then do the same thing with your arms. The plastic bags getting stuck in the arms was probably our first clue that the arms were probably going to be
Yeah.
too tight.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the way you
But-
cut it, though, I think was smart because I
Yeah.
was worried if you just cut it straight in, that
Yeah.
it was just going to gradually keep
and gradually
going.
keep going.
So you did
Yeah.
it like
crossways.
Little baseball
Crossways.
sleeves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I had like a little raglan wetsuit.
yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that bag technique, and I've just never done it because I'm stupid, I guess.
Well, you
No,
put in yours
we
quick
got yours
though.
in
Like you
so
yeah.
fast.
For me, I didn't. I actually felt like really, really good. Probably, like I said it earlier, it's the best 35 miles I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
But then I got sick after that, and so that's to me. I felt comfortable. I put on enough gear. I tried to stay preventative every time, and I put on. I know it's going to get colder at this point. I've got
Yeah.
an hour and a half, 2 hours before I get back in. I know I'm going to need this, even if I'm warmer throughout the pit. So there might have been spots, especially climbing hills, where I was getting hot and I was self-regulating by pulling my gloves off or taking my hood off. But I could still feel myself sweating. But it was like, might as well soak this in because I know I'm going to get cold at some
you know
point.
you're gonna get cold again.
So I really didn't feel like it was hard and bad until I was sick, and which slowed me down.
Yeah.
And then I was weak and going slower and colder because
Yeah.
of that. My legs, honestly, I felt
pretty, like I started getting tired around mile 15 and 20, 25. And it's funny because, I mean, I've even heard pros say, like, longer endurance pros, they say, it takes me 3 or whatever miles before I even
Just
feel
warm
warmed
up,
up,
yeah.
right? And that's how I felt at mile 25 to 30. I felt great. Like my legs were just, all right, we're ready to do this.
Yeah.
You know, just way different than it felt the 10 miles before.
So you're
Just
moving
Right.
that lap.
so silly.
Yeah.
You also said having the full hood kept you so much warmer
Oh,
than the strap.
did you have a full hood?
Yeah, no, I had a strap. I had one with me,
You just
but
had a
I just never put
strap
it
hood.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
You
my.
did
I
have
had
a full hood.
Yeah, I did have
But
a
you
full
didn't use
hood,
it.
but I didn't use
I didn't
it.
know she had
It
one.
was-
Put her in it.
We would have forced you in it.
Yeah.
Go, put your head in this now.
It was like one of those ones that like covered everything but my eyes.
But it really made a huge difference in that
Yeah.
it kept water from going down your back as much.
Right.
And obviously all that exposed
Yeah.
skin around your neck, it kept that closed in.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
I feel like my wetsuit was so tight though. I wasn't getting any water in that thing.
Well, you came through on the lap before you hurt your ankle. You came through,
Yeah.
and that's when I pulled my camera out and videoed you because
Yeah.
I felt like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a
feeling
little
pretty-
bit
pretty
less
okay. Yeah,
like,
that was my
intrusive.
gold. Yeah, that was my carabiner lap.
And you looked amazing coming
Yeah,
in at
that's
that lap.
why.
You had everything on. You're
You
like,
can just tell when
I'm
they
good.
come in.
You was a
Yeah.
completely different
Yep.
Anna at
You're
that
like, oh,
point.
this is a good lap.
Yeah,
This is a good
it
lap.
was a
This
great
was a
lap
really
for you
good lap.
when you
Yeah.
finally got all the stuff on.
Yeah, exactly. When I finally got all this stuff on and everything was working for me. That was the most frustrating part, was the cold was just getting to me. Like my gear just wasn't,
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared gear wise for that race. But like my legs never felt, I felt like I could run, but like my wetsuit felt tight and I just didn't feel comfortable. And I'm like,
I knew
just
being
frustrating.
cold would make me want to give up. And that's why
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm putting on as much stuff as I can.
yeah.
And
So that's
Caitlin kept
huge.
saying, Anna's so tiny. She's so tiny. She made you put your hands in her armpits.
Yeah.
And she's like, me and Mike do this all the time. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, she was like, do you want to put your hands in my armpits and warm up your hands?
So sweet.
All right, so once it was hard, you went out for another lap
Yeah.
because you were finished. You wanted to finish, finish
Yeah,
after 8 o'clock.
my pit times at once night hit were extremely long because I was getting cold, and then my 6th lap. Oh my god, my 6th lap was just a disaster. I ended up rolling
This
my
is your
ankle.
last lap?
No,
No, second
second
to
to
last.
last. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
the
I
one
ended
that
up
you-
rolling
yeah.
my ankle twice. And some poor guy, oh my gosh, I don't know who he is, but I still feel so bad. He was trying to help me over lumberjacks, and I was getting over pretty okay by myself, but he was like, no, hop on my back and you can just jump over. And so I hopped on his back, and that was right before they closed it because they were getting really slick. So I hopped on his back and I went to jump over, and they were slick, so I slid back down and I fell on top of
Oh,
him.
jeez.
And I fell on top of him, and I fell backwards, and I hit my head, and they like didn't let me get up. I'm like, oh my god. So I was laying there on my back just looking up, and the medics are all like, what's your name, where are you, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm fine. My ego's hurt a little bit. I'm so sorry. I was like, I'm so sorry to that guy that was trying to help me. He was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, or no, and then he said, yeah, sorry, but I'm not gonna help you anymore. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that was like right at the tail end of that one. And then so after that lap, I took a while in the pit because I was like so broken from that lap. I was like, this is just terrible. And so I sat in the medical tent to try and warm up a little bit, and Brandy was gonna take off my socks and shoes to try and get me into some dry socks. And that's whenever I saw like the bruise all around my ankle. I was like, crap. So the doctor came and looked at it, and he was like, yeah, you probably tore some ligaments, and if you're gonna go back out there, just wrap it up a little bit. So one of the guys next to us wrapped it up, and I had some medical tape with me, wrapped up my ankle. I propped it up. I ended up falling asleep for like maybe 5-10 minutes or something. When I woke up, the wrap was like frozen to me, and I was like, okay, I need to go sit back in the medical tent to warm back up and get this wrap off of me. So
That was a weird moment
It was a
when you
very
came
weird
because you were going, oh, I'm not going on.
yeah.
And I think like, we had a little bit of a heart-to-heart where I started kind of yelling at you almost.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I
you're
needed.
not doing this.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
pulled out of the Ultra One lap so you could come here.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
you're getting up every hour and we're flexing it.
Exactly.
We're going on a walk. You're going to do this again.
You did get very bossy.
And
Yeah.
I got
It's
very
exactly
bossy.
what I needed,
And I was
because
like,
I'm
I don't know how mean to be to you right now, but you're definitely doing another one. And then I
Yeah.
threatened to not drive at all
Yeah.
today. You go,
Yeah.
You're going to drive on that ankle, and if you can't, we're stuck in Atlanta.
Yeah, so I went to the medical tent. Once I warmed up and I got my shoes on and everything, I'm like, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go before I ever even give myself time to change my mind. I'm just gonna go out there. And once I cross that start line, I'm out there, and there's no turning back.
Yep.
So, but luckily I did go out on that last lap because I met up with Delphine Crouch at Augustus Gloop, and his headlamp was dying, so they were threatening to like send him back to the pits. And like pull him off course, and the volunteer was like, I mean, unless you want to run with her and like y'all can share a headlamp. And I'm like, if you're cool with not running, if you're cool with not running and taking all the penalty laps, then by all means you can tag along with me. So
That's awesome.
it was meant to be.
So for me, I spent literally from midnight to 4 a.m. 2 laps that I did just sick to my stomach, feeling like I could throw up at any moment, and it kind of came in waves and it would hit me. And doing 2 laps like that, if it wasn't going away, I just felt like, what's the point of keeping doing this? Because as miserable as we are, being sick is just not, there's no point in doing anything when you're sick like that. So I spent 2 laps doing that and decided if I'm going to stay being sick, I'm not going to keep going because it's not worth it. I mean, maybe if I had never done this before, it would be worth it to keep pushing myself past that. But I wanted to, like I said, I was performing really well, so I wanted to be able to keep performing. And I knew I had lost the performance that I wanted, but I ended up feeling like the performance I had was great. This happened, okay, I'm gonna call it here. And so I went back in and rested for a bit. And when I came back in, everybody was cool, like not pushing me to go back out at the moment because it was so I was hurting really bad. And so I slept in the sleeping bag for a bit, and then when I got back up, everybody was talking and stuff, and of course Mark's doing a great job trying to push me back out there. But then turned out Mike was coming in for his, because I had done 45 miles at that point.
Yeah.
And so I had done 45 miles by 4:30. And so waiting around, Mike was coming through. They had said he had gone out. He was going to be coming in by 9:30, 10 o'clock, the perfect time to finish up 50 miles. And it was like, if he's going out for 50, I want to go out and finish this with him and get my 50 as well. And that's what I did. So into the race. You finished about what time?
I finished my 7th lap, my last lap. I finished Mutterhorn around like a little bit after 7:20 or 7:30.
Did you wait at the end?
Yeah, there was already like a group of people waiting for 8 o'clock, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit here and chill with y'all then, wait for the sun to come up. And it was good because the sun came up, and we looked down at the pits, and the sun wasn't quite hitting the pits yet, and we're like, yeah, we're not going down there yet until.
Oh,
the
y'all
sun
waited
is,
at
like,
the obstacle?
Yeah, at Mutterhorn, and then like a few of them went around the front to help people while we were waiting. So we just kind of killed time up there.
Nice. Was it chilly just sitting there?
It kind of was. There was a couple people that came off Mutterhorn that were like hurting pretty bad from the cold, and like we had to get them wrapped up in some space
Oh, wow.
blankets and everything. And
Was anybody doing jumping jacks or anything?
oh yeah. A few of us were just like walking up and down the hill, and yeah, we were just camped out up there, hanging around for 8 o'clock.
Nice. Now y'all did that. 8 o'clock is the time that they say if you finish your last lap after 8 o'clock, you earn your 24-hour headband,
Right.
which is a weird time to say 24-hour headband, but that's
Yeah.
their rule. And so after 8 o'clock, they call it, you hear it over the loudspeaker, and then everybody, this crowd of people walking across, which is pretty cool. For myself, I went out on that last lap with Mike, and I was, hey, you're going the right way.
What's that?
So we went out, and I was prepared to. I was feeling pretty good at that point. My stomach had finally settled, and Mike even pointed it out on course and said, I dare to say that your legs feel pretty good right now.
Mike.
I was probably skipping along, and he's sitting there trudging. So I did end up. We walked that whole lap, not a single run in there. I take that back. I ran to catch up with him when he started a penalty loop, where I went ahead and did the obstacle because I didn't want to get wet.
Yeah.
And then I'd take the penalty loop with him, so I'd run to catch up with him.
Well, y'all
I
jogged
did run
in,
a little
though.
bit. We did jog in at the
Yeah,
end.
you did.
I was hoping I could get him to run down the hill from Mutterhorn, but his knee actually hurt worse when he ran down the hill, so I didn't do that.
But you
But-
could tell he was hurting. When,
Yeah.
When I saw y'all on X, how y'all doing? You're like, almost there. And his first thing, not good.
Well, his pit times were like a minute. Like
Yeah.
he
Oh, he had
was
barely
such fast
stopped,
pit
and
times.
he would run away before we even gave him water. Like
Yeah.
that guy was so mentally solid.
He really worked super hard for that and earned every bit of it.
It was
for
impressive.
sure.
For real.
So yeah, that last lap was the sun had come up. It was nice. Everything had started thawing out. Everything had thawed out. Like instantly, the sun came up and everything
Yeah.
thawed out, which was
Like
insane.
a bad dream.
Yeah, exactly.
But we ran in, and that was really cool because at that point it was, they knew that the winners were getting
Yeah.
close to getting in. So everybody was lined up down the finish, and when we ran in, it was really cool running next to Mike. And like even seeing Margaret Schlocker from Muttering Guide on the
Yeah.
side with her filming, so knowing that all these people, they like every single person they came through, they didn't know who we were, but they were cheering like
Yeah.
like they were you guys. It was really really cool. And we crossed the finish line together and gave him a big old hug, and it was a great way to finish. That's for sure. So obviously there's plenty of other things to talk about. I feel like I could do a whole episode
Yeah.
on obstacle technique for the
Right.
whole race because you learn little
Yeah.
things every lap. You learn something
Yeah.
new. Do it this way or do it that way. But there's obviously going to be a ton of other people doing podcasts about this. Obstacle Racing Media, Obstacle Running Adventures, World's Toughest Podcast. Maybe Overcome a Run. Heather Bodie wasn't here, but I don't know if
Yeah.
she'll do anything on it. But any last, I can't think of a good question to wrap it up with. So anything last you want to say before we go have some bacon?
I have two.
Okay.
I want you to share what your sound was as you approached the pit, so we knew it was you. Because they all start looking the same after a while. Like you have to
Yeah.
judge it by like
Everybody's in
Yeah.
black neoprene.
how they run
Oh, yeah.
is really how you can tell.
Yeah,
But
Caitlin's Mike. Every single time someone came in.
Jason,
So I knew when I was coming in, I didn't think about this ahead of time, but I knew when I was coming in that it was hard to recognize everybody. So I wanted to think of a unique sound that I could do so that April would recognize. So
Like
I said,
the woo guy
I
at Kiss
said-
of Mud.
Yeah. That guy was doing the Ric Flair woo.
Yeah.
So I said, yee yee.
it was the best sound.
If you ever seen the video on the guy who on like YouTube or whatever, he said, I don't need a horn. I just stick my head out the window and go yee yee. So
It worked.
Best.
It did work.
we do that call around our house, and my kids think it's funny. So it worked very well. Every time I came in, y'all knew it was
Great.
me.
It's great. The second thing I wanted to say was leading up into the race, you hear a lot of people who have been there before or have heard from other people, be careful about who you choose for your pit crew because, it might drive a wedge in your relationship.
Yeah.
If it's a close friend, if it's your spouse, if it's your, boyfriend, girlfriend, at some point you're going to be mean to, like, all those warnings. And I can say 100% no one argued. No one, you guys coming in, obviously you're beat. There's a lot of mental things going on.
Yeah.
Neither of you guys were, frustrated or rude or ugly. Like everybody was just so kind and so nice to each other. And I think we all came out of it and better, like closer
Better,
and
yeah.
better
Yeah.
than we
Yeah.
were
Oh,
before.
yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I think that's pretty special that in those intense, stressful, terrible, temperature kind of moments, everybody was still, like you guys were saying, please and thank you. We didn't get like mad at each other because where is this? I told Jenny, like
We
nothing.
were grabbing our own stuff, and you're like, no, let me. What are you doing? Stop. Let me get it for you.
So that was really special to see. And Caitlin and Mike, they were sweet to each other. I know Mike teased Caitlin, when you get tired, and that girl hung in there, and she was sweet as can be. It was awesome to see.
Anything else? Last thought.
It was just inspirational to see y'all come through. Both of you on different levels. Like you came in going, I'm not going back out there. This, that. You and I kind of argued back and forth for a bit about it, and when you finally decided, okay, it's time to go, and we formed the plan. All right, let's get hot water. We're gonna thaw out all your clothes. We're gonna get your wetsuit ready. Do it bit by bit, and then just seeing you and Mike go out there, like it was impressive to watch. And then you coming back, you had your struggles with the cold, and I didn't. We talked about this. I interviewed Jason every time he came in, and I wanted to do it to you, but I felt like we need. There was more pressing matters at the time, but. If I would have been feeling the way that you were feeling, I never would have went back out. And I know myself. I would have instantly like, well, looks like I'm
Race
sleeping.
is done.
It's like, race is done. I'm gonna give me one of those
I'm
beers. We're
surprised
gonna
at
hang
how
out.
many people like slept through the night
Yeah.
and then just woke up for the morning.
A lot of people
lot of
did,
people.
which
Some people left even.
Yeah, a lot of-
there's
Yeah,
Oh,
I heard,
yeah.
yeah, I heard people
We-
were leaving through the night.
it was just
It was
it was rough to watch everybody leave, but watching you go back out there both times, knowing how you were feeling was just impressive.
And just how
That's why I'm
awesome
so
of an
glad.
event it is that, plenty of people say, you tell people about this and they're like, why in the world would you
Yeah.
ever do
Yeah.
such a thing?
Yeah.
But when you get out there and you see it, even from a pit crew perspective, I mean, I've heard this from plenty of other people, that it's just, you get it when you get
Yeah.
out
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
understand
something you have to
it.
experience
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
You can't explain it to any normal person because they're just gonna be like, "You're
normal
stupid."
Yeah, why are you doing this?
Because
Yeah.
none of us out there last night were normal people.
Yeah. Why are you running 24 hours?
Why
Why
not?
are you sitting there like being
Yeah.
covered in all these bodily fluids for 24 hours?
Well, Mark, you
But-
said it. You said it so well on our last episode, talking about the ultra and saying that. Well, I mean, maybe I only came out here and did one lap, but it's better than being at home,
Yeah.
sitting
Yeah.
around not
Better
doing
than sitting at
anything.
home.
Yeah.
And big shout out to the people who were the Tough Mudder, I guess, employees, staff, whoever was inside the booth all night with the microphones, because even at certain points when there wasn't a lot of runners coming through, they were still getting on there,
Yeah.
cracking jokes, making fun
Yeah.
of the space blankets, talking about different things, playing music, singing along to things.
Dancing. Yeah.
We walked to the front at one point and they had a bunch of pit crew members having a little dance party. They were making sure
the
that the
dance
pit
floor
crew
that I kept hearing
also
about.
was staying awake and
Keeping
moving
it
and
lively.
kind of
Right,
keeping
yeah.
the spirits up in the areas, because it was
Yeah.
there was that moment in the middle of the night where it just got quiet and everybody was sitting
was-
there
yeah.
staring,
Hardest.
and it was a dark moment for everybody.
It really was.
But then they would come
really
on the
was.
microphone and be like, "Look at that guy coming through with that space blanket. He looks like a baked potato going into the tent. Oh, look at you, little Hershey's Kiss all wrapped up."
Yeah.
So
that was
they
cool.
definitely kept us
Yeah.
kept everybody's spirits kind of up.
Yeah.
For me, last thought, it definitely was. I wouldn't have been able to get my good mileage, that 35 miles, in that amount of time if it wasn't for you guys. Having y'all to have the encouragement as well as things organized and help put everything on, because I literally changed gear every lap because the temperatures were so
cold,
drastic.
yeah.
Yeah, you had to.
And so you guys helping me get that together, and like Mark at the very last lap putting all that hot water on everything to get the cold gear back on, which was hard to do, but we did it and it worked.
Yeah.
So not only did it make the whole trip more fun having you guys here, but the race was instrumental for you guys. So thank y'all for joining us. Thanks for coming all the way out here to do this with us.
Of course.
For Anna,
Yeah.
brought.
Brandy,
I
yeah.
I paid for Mark to be my pit crew. You brought one pit crew,
Yeah.
but Mark was everybody's pit crew.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Thank
You did.
goodness.
That's
Thank
something
goodness.
to consider
Yeah.
is the muscle that he somebody needs to get in their wetsuit. Here I come. Like that would have been a struggle for the girls. Mark
Like
was.
knocking me down, trying to put my gloves on.
Oh yeah.
You need some muscle
Yeah.
for your pit crew. You do.
Yeah.
You just do.
All right, so we're gonna stop there and go eat some bacon and go
Drink
see a
some
bunch of
drinks.
people. Yeah, drink some drinks, see a bunch of people that we know and have come to form more relationships with through
Yeah.
this process. And I don't know when we'll record again. Shoot, it's kind of in the season now. It's in my
Yeah.
season.
We
You got
both have
another
terrain
race?
race.
Yeah,
next
we both
week.
have terrain
We have
race.
terrain race next week.
Mark said he's gonna run in a wetsuit just to spite me.
Yeah, she said she goes, "I'm not gonna run." I said, "Well, I'm gonna run. I don't care what the temperature is, but I'm peeing in a wetsuit and you're yanking it off me just to trade."
Oh, one last thing I want to say is just to everybody that listens, it was really cool to hear. I had OCR talk on my bib and
Yeah.
just as my name because it was nice and big, easy to read, and it was really awesome to hear people saying. Sometimes they didn't even say anything to me. I would pass them up,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, "Oh, OCR talk, that's a cool podcast."
Yeah.
and I would just go, From Mars in
He
here.
waved his hands in the air.
Yeah, he waved his hands in the air.
I was too tired to
Can't
say
say that on a
anything.
podcast.
But it was really awesome. And even, what was her name? That was the medical lady at the beginning of the labs. Molly.
Yeah, Molly Kenneth. I think.
She saw it on the back, and she didn't say OCR talk. What's
Yeah.
that? She
Yeah.
said.
Okay,
She
OCR talk.
looked at my back and saw it and just said, "Oh, how's your podcast going?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah.
She knows that. So
I
really
had,
cool.
whenever I was sitting up in that little group at Mutterhorn, it was Charlotte, I can't remember the other girl's name, Charlotte and Kevin. At least they were like, "Oh, you're that's where I know you from," or something like that. That's where I know that name from. I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And then some guy from Maine that I was walking along the course with on one of my labs, he was like, "Oh yeah, that's one of the podcasts I listened to. I
Nice.
listened to y'all and New England Spottins." He was like, because he's from Maine, and yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
So I'd say it's cool. It's awesome that all these people
Yeah.
sharing these adventures with us.
Yeah.
So not only is it some people that just hear our voices,
Right.
but a lot of people that we share the course with.
Getting
And
to
that's
put faces with names,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was really cool.
all right. So time for bacon.
Right, bacon.
Thanks for listening. Get ready for train race next weekend.
Oh yeah.
Wear my wetsuit too.
All right, we're out. Declan, you want to say hello? No. Bye.